So, good evening. Welcome back to the Blind Gooner. Listen, I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. Joining me to preview tomorrow's game against Newcastle is Keg from the Magpie channel. Keg, how you doing? Thanks for coming back on.
I'm good, Daniel. Not too bad. Thank you very much for having me on again so soon.
And yes, so let's get straight into it. Before I get straight into it, I just want to remind you all to smash the like button, keep subscribing if you're new, and listen, we'll get straight into it. So, Keg, let's look back at the FA Cup tie, because we played you quite recently in the FA Cup, and from an Arsenal point of view, I actually thought we were quite lucky in that game. I think kind of extra time kind of helped us. I actually didn't think we were too great in that game, but from a Newcastle point of view, are you a little bit disappointed that you didn't get anything out of that game, or are you did it go as you expected?
A bit of both, really. A bit of both. Like, it's kind of typical of Steve Bruce, really, to set up defensively. Like, quite often would go into play like the big boys, the likes of like your Arsenals, your Liverpools, Cities, Uniteds, all of these. And like, we usually tend to do well because it is just backs to the wall, defend. That's basically his tactic. And if we can get a lucky draw like we did against Liverpool, it was a brilliant 0-0, to be fair, against Liverpool. Probably one of the best games we've had this season. So yeah, against Arsenal, like if that was the league, if we went away with a point after that, that would have been great. Even if it was a typical FA Cup game where that'd usually be replays in the third round. If we'd get a replay back at St James's, we would have been more than happy about that. But you're right, I don't really think Arsenal were that great. I know there was a lot of rotation. Like throughout the 90 minutes, it really could have gone either way. The first half especially was so boring. It was an awful half from both sides. But the second half was quite entertaining. It was quite end-to-end. We had a couple of great chances. Andy Carroll squandered a couple of brilliant chances. But I think once the changes were made, a little bit of freshness in Arsenal with Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka, I think once them two came on, I think Granit Xhaka as well, I think he changed the game quite a bit. So Arsenal's changes in the fresh legs were really what beat us. I think Kieran Tierney had a brilliant game. He had us on the back foot down that side the whole game. His delivery just didn't really amount to nothing. I don't really think Aubameyang was firing overly great that game. But yeah, once we got into extra time, I think our bodies were just absolutely shattered. Like defensively, we were brilliant in the 90 minutes. Kieran Clark was absolutely fantastic, but I think it was just a fatigue issue. We've had a lot of fatigue in the team at the minute. Obviously, 2-3 weeks ago, we had a game against Aston Villa postponed because everyone was down with the virus, and we've had a lot of injuries through the winter period. So it's been a bit of a tough time on us. But once we got into extra time, I think Kieran Clark especially and Federico Fernandez looked absolutely knackered. And I think that's what beat us in the end. We had tired legs. You had brilliant fresh legs with the young lads. And that was the difference in the end of the day. But yeah, like I say, if it was a 90-minute 0-0, either a replay or a point in the league, would have been happy enough with that performance here.
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of done it for us, was getting the youngsters on, because up until that point, I actually thought Newcastle were the better side, especially in the first half. Like, I thought we were just absolutely awful. It was one of those games where Arteta went with experience. Arteta went with the usual suspects of Willian and. He kind of went with those guys that have just failed all season. And then, I thought we were lucky to go in the break at 0-0. I honestly thought that. I think the only thing with Newcastle is that you could probably say that you guys didn't really take your chances, and you had chances in the game. But I just... From an Arsenal point of view, I thought we were absolute shit, to be honest. It was one of those... It was one of those... Well, yeah. do you know what it was, right? It was one of those games where if it wasn't for doing a YouTube stream and that, I was just sat there thinking, Jesus Christ, what am I giving up 2 hours of my day to do
Mate,
this. You know,
welcome to being a Newcastle fan. We've been doing that for the past year. If it wasn't for the Magpie channel, if it wasn't for me doing the Magpie channel, doing live streams every game, like I wouldn't be watching Steve Bruce football. I would have gave up months ago.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's what it is. It's a lot.
Victims of our own crime here.
I've been like that with Arsenal. You know, if it wasn't for bloody YouTube, I would just honestly. The other week, and I can't remember what game it was. I think it was when we lost to Burnley. I was sat there thinking, do you know what? If I wasn't doing a YouTube stream, I would have turned over. I would have literally turned over, and I would have done what Thierry Henry done. I would have seen that Granit Xhaka was captain and gone, do you know what? Let's just fucking switch over and watch something else, because it is total crap. It is.
Yeah,
and,
you wouldn't want to be a neutral watching that game, that's for sure.
No, exactly, and it's not the great game for a neutral, is it? Especially when you're playing this poorly. But yeah, I thought, especially towards during the 90 minutes, I actually thought you guys could have nicked it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I actually thought
especially with Andy Carroll's chances,
Yeah, and Andy Carroll is always caused Arsenal some problems. Always. Whenever that guy plays against us, he always causes us some problems. So I fully expected him to at least get a goal or something. But yeah, like I say, I think extra time was saved us a little bit, because Newcastle, you guys started to tire, and then, like I say, we brought on the youngsters, which massively helped. One thing that didn't go in our favour is before the game, Martinelli came off. He sort of pulled out of the warm up, which was potentially a big blow for us. But yeah, we it's a shame that it went to extra time as well, because I think with the congested fixture list, I think that's gonna tell. And we'll come on to the game tomorrow. So how are you feeling about the game tomorrow? Do you think you get a bit of revenge, or
nope?
No, I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah. Sorry for sparking some negativity into the chat, but
don't worry about it.
It's just the way we are at the minute. It's like we're just really not happy, and things have even escalated since the last time we spoke, which was only about a week ago, and we never really thought it could get much worse. But the bounce back, what we were looking for, because we've had a hard run in over the Christmas period, to be fair. In the league, back-to-back games, we had Man City, Liverpool and Leicester. Tough games. Before that was Leeds, who was also a tough game. Then we had Arsenal in the Cup, another tough game. So the one that we were looking forward to for a while, like coming into the Christmas period, we knew we probably weren't going to pick up many points. But the one we were looking forward to was the Sheffield United game, because they were sitting bottom of the table, no wins all season, only 2 points, only just scraped through in their FA Cup tie against Bristol Rovers, I think it was. So we were looking at that like, right, this is an opportunity to pick up 3 points. Like we haven't picked up many lately. We've been very poor, but we're coming up against a very poor side, really, really struggling to pick up points. We need to impress. We need to get up 3 points. It's crucial, because we're being sucked into that relegation battle. But went into that game so negatively. Like, we didn't think Steve Bruce could get any more negative, but we started that game with 5 at the back. The starting lineup was atrocious. The 2 in the middle of the park, I don't know why he chose Sean Longstaff and Jeff Hendrick. They've been so poor lately, and it was like we just threw the towel in straight away. We got an unfortunate red card just before half time, which was an opportunity really to go in at the half time, reassess things, make some changes, change the formation, maybe a substitute. But it wasn't. It was like, go on, lads, just try and scrape out a 0-0. And we're absolutely shite sick of this football now. Like the way we played, like even the first half before the red card was set up negatively, but the second half was absolutely appalling. And we obviously granted Sheffield their first win of the season, which we could have predicted. We could have seen that coming, but we didn't want to be that negative. We're thinking, surely we can get a win here, but not. So like the last 3-4 days around Newcastle has been, it's not been a very nice place to be, because the negativity's gone from 0 to 100 real quick. Like the Steve Bruce out brigade is in full force now. Even journalists, like we've been sick for the last year or so of pundits, like defending Steve Bruce, going, "Oh well, the football's not too bad. He's doing his job." Blah blah blah. Mate, he's not. He's really, really not. And that Sheffield United game has proved it. So like he had a press conference yesterday where he said he was kind of like blaming the players, but he's like, "The gloves are off now. We're going to do things my way." Well, like your way. Like you're trying to say like this hasn't been your way for the past 18 months. I don't know what that means. So we're going to come to this Arsenal game with the gloves off, doing things his way. Like honestly, I'm shit scared about that. Like I don't know what that means. Like I don't know what his way means. Like what's been his way for the past 18 months. So look out, Arsenal, because we're doing things Brucey's way now. Like a bit quake in your boots, if you will. Like honestly, I don't know what that means. So yeah, the mood in the
that
last
makes no sense.
days,
what was he doing for the last 18 months?
I've got absolutely no idea, Daniel. Your guess is as good as mine. Unless Mike Ashley's been the manager all along and Brucey's just been a decoy. I don't know. But yeah, apparently the gloves are off. His words, and we're doing things his way. So yeah, quick in your boots, if you will. But I probably wouldn't worry about it too much.
Do you know that's the sort of thing Arteta would come out with as well? Jesus Christ, that's the sort of thing he would come out with. Right, we're doing things my way, and yeah, that's. Do you know when a manager says that? Right,
man. Like it's frightening. Like what have you been doing?
But do you know when a manager says that? Right, I always think your job's on the line. So you're just coming out with anything to go to try and appease the fans and. Listen, we've seen it with
he is scared now
with Unai Emery as well at Arsenal. We've seen it with him. He did the same thing, and where I think I might have asked you this when you come on before, but where would you ideally want to be as a Newcastle fan? Because there's a lot of I talk to a lot of Newcastle fans, and everybody gives a different response. And so, where would you guys be happy with? What would constitute a happy season for you guys?
Well, that's honestly a really tough question because of the way things are at the minute. Like under this management, under this ownership, there's absolutely no ambition. Obviously, we just want better. We just literally just want better in the short term. We want a better manager, a better style of play. Players that look like they give a shit, like just more attack. Like every game we're giving up, like we're only getting like 20 to 30% possession. Like it's not good enough. We're not creating chances. We're not getting in the final third. It's just boring. So in a short answer is just we want better. But in the long term, obviously we want a takeover. We want better managers, and I think like Newcastle have this reputation among neutral fans that we're deluded. We ask for too much. Like. We're still in the Premier League. That should be good enough. That's just existing. We're not thriving. Every team, every fan, every club should want to thrive. You should want more. You should want better than just being in the Premier League, just sitting 16th, 17th. Like no fan would want that. Like that's not good enough. That's not a good enough response. Like in the long term, we want a good takeover. We want better managers, better players, so we can push because we like just 20 odd year ago under the Kevin Keegan regime, under Sir Bobby Robson, we never won anything. We haven't won anything in 51 years, but at least back then we were competing. We were pushing in the top four. We were getting to FA Cup finals. We were playing in the Champions League, the Europa League. I say we never won fuck all, but just to be around about that bracket again would be just a world away from where we are now, just pushing top 10, top 8, top 6. Like that's just better than where we are now, just surviving in this league, just chugging along season by season, trying not to get relegated. It's a pitiful existence and we're fed up of it. It's been this way for 10 to 15 years. We literally just want better. We want to be close to where we were 20 odd year ago. And I don't really think that's too much to ask for.
Yeah, that's it. And, and it's really mad because looking at, as it's well documented as well, with Arsenal that, all our fans are not happy with the current situation at Arsenal. And, when you look at other clubs, it's not too much different. Do you know what I mean? With everybody, obviously certain clubs accept where they are and, accept it. But listen, there's nothing wrong with wanting a bit of ambition.
Yeah, of course
just
not.
like, if we'd seen more ambition at fucking Arsenal, we might have been in a better position. We might not have got an inexperienced manager, and we might have, actually be pushing up that table. And we're coming into this game as well off the back of a poor result against Crystal Palace. Jesus Christ! I tell you what. Never watched a most boring game in all my life. I tell you, I was falling asleep on the watch. I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, this is so boring. 0-0. And just sideways, backwards, bloody passing football. And it was just Jesus Christ. And that's the thing as well. We struggle to break teams down. So teams that just sit behind the ball and just literally, say break us down. We struggle with that.
Yeah.
So, if I was Steve Bruce and if I was Newcastle, right, I'll be saying to my players, I'll be saying just sit everybody behind the ball because Arsenal won't break us down because we struggle to break teams down. How do you think he's going to go tomorrow with Newcastle? How do you think Steve Bruce is going to go tomorrow? Do you think he will come and try and be defensive, or do you think he'll try and hit us on the counter or something? How do you think it will go?
Well, after the gloves are off speech, I've got no idea. But well, yeah, like you say, like that probably is the best way to go about it. Like, yeah, we are sick of defensive football, but playing against like the big teams, as I said before, like your Arsenals, your Cities and Liverpools, it's okay because we know them teams are better than us. You've got better players, you're better at attacking, so sitting defensively isn't a bad idea. It's just when we do that against the likes of Sheffield United and West Brom, like it's inexcusable. Like we want better football than that. But yeah, like against an Arsenal team, especially if you've got the likes of Smith Rowe, Aubameyang, Saka. I don't know if Martinelli's fit again, Lacazette, players like that. Like, yeah, like you're going to have to try and break us down because when we do sit back and defend, we can be a solid unit, as you found out throughout the 90 minutes of the FA Cup game. It was only until like our legs started to get a little bit tired where you got the advantage. So yeah, that probably is the best way to go about it, and that's the way I still see things being. That's the way he's been playing for the last 18 months. To be honest, he's been 5 at the back, hoping for a counter attack, scrape a lucky point, a lucky 3 points if we can. Like we've got Callum Wilson up front, like he's our key outlet. He just doesn't get enough opportunities. Like when he does get an opportunity, he gets his chance. He didn't play during the cup game, unfortunately, but Andy Carroll had a great game. So I do expect Callum Wilson to start. If he gets half a chance, then we might get lucky. We might be able to scrape a point, maybe 3, God forbid. But yeah, that will be the tactic as it always is. Like I say, I don't know what gloves off means. I don't know what that press conference was all about. I think he just got a little bit agitated and just started talking shit. But yeah, that will probably be the same tactic as he always has. If he does change things and plays more attacking football, if we'll play like a 4-4-2 or something like that, I'll be over the moon, even if we get beat, but we'll go for it. That's all we want. We just want to see a team try. We don't want to see like defensive football, sitting back, defensive, negative. Like even if we get beat, but we'll give it a real good go. We'll have some decent possession, a good few chances, and we'll get beat 1-0. That's fine. We'll hold our hands up and say we got beat by a better team. But as long as we just try, when we just sit off and hold off for so long and wait for a counter attack at the end, it's just boring. No one wants to see that, even for a neutral.
I think this is where clubs need to understand as well. And this is where I feel that clubs need to be more in tune with the fans, because all fans ask, they don't expect to win every week, but all fans ask from their clubs is to see 100% commitment on the pitch. And that's all that fans ask from their clubs. And when you see footballers coming out going, they come out with the generic crap of, I'm really sorry it didn't happen today. And then you see the next thing, the same performance, the same players doing the same things week in, week out. You're like, hang on a second, that apology means absolutely nothing because you're going back and reverting to type. So that's all fans want to see from their clubs is 100% commitment, 100% effort. And come on, listen, they're getting paid. Well, even Newcastle players are getting paid top wages. It's not hard to run around a pitch and kick a fucking football and put your
for,
whole soul into
for
it.
90
Do you know what I
minutes.
mean?
Yeah, it's not too much of an
Exactly.
ask for. Like that Liverpool game a couple of weeks ago. Like honestly, that was the best we've been. Like yeah, it was extremely defensive. We didn't have a great lot of possession, but getting forward, we actually looked really, really good throughout the 90 minutes at both ends of the field. We had opportunities in that game to nick all 3 points, but like what actually tried. Like there's players who's been on the fringes for about a year, like DeAndre Yedlin and Fabian Schär, who's been appalling, like really, really bad performances over the last year. And it was at the point where we didn't even want to see them in the starting lineup. But everyone that day gave a great effort. So if Liverpool nicked a win at the end, if they went off and won 1-2-0 in the last 10 minutes, that is okay because we tried. We actually played good football, and as a fan base, we were happy enough with that performance. To nick a point off the champions was brilliant, of course. Like I say, we could have got 3, but even if we ended up with nothing and Liverpool nicked it at the end, the performance was great. And if we could see that a bit more often, just a bit more effort from the lads, all of them, every 11 player on the pitch, given effort. That's all we ever want to see. And like I say, you don't win every game. If you lose the odd few game but play well, that's fine. Like this is football. Like I say, you don't win every game. Like all you want to see is just passion, players who actually look like they care.
Yeah, and that's the same with us Arsenal fans as well. The worst thing, and I know this sounds, I'm gonna probably drop a complete grenade into the chat into the chat room, right? And the worst thing for us is because we've had that invincible season many years ago. So there's a section of Arsenal fans that expect that season in, season out because we've done it, and because we've and don't get me wrong, like for me, it was a great achievement, absolutely fantastic achievement. But it's sort of now it's set the expectations to the point where any Arsenal team that don't meet those expectations, are just going to be doomed to fail.
Yeah,
and it's and I always say to people as well, I always say that, listen, the Premier League's moved on. The league is so open. And that's another thing as well. When you look at, you guys are obviously, sort of struggling. And then you look at, like we're sort of obviously not far in front of you. Do you know what I mean? We're still struggling. And, you look at the table and you think, Jesus Christ, if someone just puts a bit of consistent form in, somebody puts a little bit of consistency into their game, they could have a really good season, really, really good season. But it's always the way, isn't it? And it's always the way with certain teams. They always just screw up. And
it has been that way this season, though. Like this season's been one of the weirdest in Premier League history. Like it's a very fair reflection on the years 2020 and 21 as it's shaping up to be. Like Man United are top. Like they started shocking, and you could even say Arsenal just a few weeks ago. You're only a few points off the relegation zone, and now you're only a few points off like the top 4. Like that's just the way the season's going. It's if there was a bit more consistency. Yeah, like City's down in like 8th or something. Like Liverpool haven't been as good as they've been the last couple of seasons. It's a very, very strange season. So you need to pick up points where it's important, and that's where Newcastle's lacking at the minute because we're being sucked into that relegation zone. In our next few games, let's say the Sheffield United game was a huge game for us to pick up some points. Our next 5-6 games are tough. I think we've got Crystal Palace and West Brom coming up in the next 7 games. But around that, we've got Leeds again. We've got Arsenal. We've got quite a few more of the big boys. So there's not many more points being picked up. So if the teams at the bottom are starting to pick up points like Sheffield United, we could be back in that bottom 3 in just a couple of weeks. Yeah.
So before we come to the score prediction, I'm going to ask you, and I asked you this a couple of weeks ago before the FA Cup game, but I'm going to ask it you again because I know things have changed. Is Steve Bruce on borrowed time?
He's been on borrowed time since he signed the contract. I think he really is now. Like, I think that press conference, the gloves off speech, I think he's starting to feel it now. Like, he's been like asked by a couple of journalists, and like he's starting to snap. I think he's starting to lose his cool now. I think he realizes his job's under pressure. But Mike Ashley came out just a couple of days ago and says he's still in confidence. But we've seen that happen before, haven't we? Like the owners will say like, oh, like the manager still has our backing, but it's only like a few results away from losing that backing. So when like for Bruce's sake, like we don't, it's a bit of it's going to be a bittersweet situation really now. Like, do we continue to lose games and pile the pressure on Steve Bruce to force a change, or do we want to win? Or we're going to try and get 3 points? I do. Like, I'm a competitive person by nature. I don't want to see my team suffer for the benefit of other factors. I want to win every game we go into. I want to win. I don't give a shit who the manager is. Like, I want to win games. But if we do start to lose games, I think, like, if we are sucked more into the relegation battle, if we don't pick up points to Crystal Palace and West Brom, I think Steve Bruce is going to be on very borrowed time. I think people are starting to understand it now. I say pundits used to back him when it wasn't credited. Now even they're starting to turn on him. Mike Ashley's had to come out and give a statement, which he never does. Mike Ashley's a very, very quiet man. He never lets his business be known. He's come out. I think Bruce is starting to feel the pressure. He's snapping at journalists in interviews. So yeah, I think he's looking very, very shaky now. I think he's on massively borrowed time for his own sake. He needs to start picking up wins, and whether doing things his way. If we pick up a win against Arsenal, then he might look like a genius, but only time will tell. Like I don't know how things are going to go over the next few weeks, but yeah, hopefully we can start picking up some points and stay clear of that relegation zone.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, you listen. I think I said to you a couple of weeks ago as well that you've always got a chance against us because we just this season. You know, it's and we make 4 steps forward and then 10 steps back. And the game against Crystal Palace was one of those games where it just brought everything home. You know, brought everything back to a bit of reality. You know, after getting them 3 wins and this is where I get mad at other Arsenal fans for getting overhyping 3 wins and it's just total mad. It is insane. But so if Steve Bruce goes, who would you want to replace him as Newcastle manager? Who do you think would who's on the short list?
Well, that's another tough question because sometimes you need to be careful what you ask for. I think things have been said about Arsenal over the years, like when they were rooting for Wenger to be sacked. Mate,
careful. You can have Arteta if you want.
Yeah, like you've got to be careful what you ask for because surprisingly, that could be worse out there. Like we've still got to remember that Mike Ashley's our owner. Like he's the problem. He's the root of all evil here. It's not necessarily Steve Bruce's fault. He's playing shite football, but he shouldn't have been in the job in the first place. It was a Mike Ashley appointment, and if Bruce goes, it could just be the same or worse. So we need to be very, very careful what happens in the future. Like getting a manager like Rafa Benitez in, he was a complete one-off. Let's not expect to get someone of his caliber in again. I think the best we can go for right now, which has been a big talking point in the Newcastle fan base, some are for, some are against. But I think the best available now, as he's unattached, probably would be Eddie Howe. Like, he hasn't had a job since the end of last season. He's done a great job with Bournemouth, getting them from almost non-league football right up to 5 successful seasons in the Premier League. But eventually time wore off. So people aren't in favour of Eddie Howe because they look at his last job. Like, they were poor last season. He did get them relegated. But I think it's an improvement. At least he tries to play the best kind of football. I think defensively, Eddie Howe wasn't great, despite having the likes of Nathan Ake in his team. But he played decent football. He knew how to get the best out of the players that he had. He wasted a little bit of money in the likes of Jordan Ibe and Dominic Solanke. But he's got to be an improvement on Steve Bruce. Like, as long as there's improvement there, I'm all for it. Because, like I say, under Mike Ashley, we're not going to get many great offers. Like, there's not going to be many people that are going to want to come. I think that's one of the biggest questions. Like, who would want to come and play in this organization under this regime? Who's going to want Mike Ashley to be their boss? Like, Mike Ashley wants yes men. That's why him and Rafa never worked out, because Rafa wanted more. He wanted to succeed. He wanted to build a project and see Newcastle successful in the future. He wanted to build foundations which would have cost Mike Ashley money. And he was like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give you the money. I'll hire someone who does exactly what I want to do. Who's available? Steve Bruce. He's sitting in the middle of the championship. He'll come up to his homeland. He'll come to Newcastle and just be, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir, whatever you say, sir. Like, that's the kind of manager Mike Ashley wants. And if someone like Eddie Howe gets offered the job and he gets told these things, I'd like to think he's got more respect for himself. I'd kind of question any manager that wants to come to Newcastle and play under this regime. I'd like to think a man like Eddie Howe would probably have more respect for himself and be like, I'm not going to work for Mike Ashley. I'm not going to come in here and get no money, expect to finish 17th every season. So whoever's available, whoever's going to bet at the team, hopefully try and push her into the top 10. That's who I want. If that's Eddie Howe, great. If it's somebody else, unbeknown to her at the minute, as long as there's an improvement, I don't really care about any names right now. I just want to see my team play better football.
Yeah. And on to tomorrow's game, score prediction. How do you think it'll go?
I don't know. It depends how we play. I think 2-1 spring into mind, but it really depends on the formation. It really depends on the starting lineup. If we're going to be playing the likes of Sean Longstaff again instead of Matty Longstaff, if Jeff Hendrick's in the lineup, no Callum Wilson, then it's going to be another absolute shit show. But if we're line up properly, if we're really trying to attack you, if we're trying to implement an attacking style, then we could really get at you. Like you say, your defense isn't the best at the minute. Like if we try and go for it, like there's mistakes to be made in that Arsenal backline. So yeah, I think it'll be another close game. I don't think it'll be another 0-0 after 90 minutes. I think there'll be goals in it, like I say, especially with Callum Wilson back in the team now. I'll probably go for a 2-1 Arsenal win.
Wow.
We can't predict wins. Like, there's no way we can. If we've just been beat by Sheffield United, like there's no way we can expect to go in against a team like Arsenal and be, we'll win 1-0, 2-0. It's just not realistic. Like if it happens, fantastic, but we just need to be real with ourselves. Like under Steve Bruce, this is what he's done to Newcastle fans. Like we're just so negative. Just keeping the game tight and only losing by 1 goal is pretty much a win.
Having said that, though, the season is so open, so it would. Listen, I actually think it, depending on what lineup Arteta picks for us, I think we could easily win this game. But then there's always something in the back of my mind that says, do you know what? This season's so open, and it'd be so Arsenal-like to go into this game and Newcastle beat us 2 or 3-0. I know that's a no for you guys, and you're probably going to go, that's a bit over the top. But
if we could get 2 or 3 goals, that'd be brilliant.
We went into we've played many games that we should have won, and we've lost it, and that's the inconsistency of this team is just absolutely horrendous, horrendous. It really is, and that's been our problem for years. The inconsistency. So yeah, I'm sort of 50-50 on this game. Pretty similar with the FA Cup game. And the FA Cup game kind of, I remember saying to you that it depends what Arsenal turns up. And actually, the FA Cup, we did just get out of jail with that one a little bit. Yeah. And I'm expecting no different in the league. And our home record in the league this season has been absolutely shit. It has been, it's been total crap. And so, yeah, I'm probably going to say, probably 2-1. I think you'll score against us, but
I'll just drop this stat that I haven't mentioned yet. I forgot to mention it earlier. This might sway your mind a little bit. I think we've only scored 1 goal in about 10 hours of football.
Wow.
Yeah, and Andy Carroll's consolation goal late on against Leicester was the only goal we've scored since a dubious Callum Wilson penalty against Fulham in mid-December.
Yeah.
So we've only got one goal in almost a month. So,
having said that, though, earlier in the season we went, I think it was 8, 9, 10 games without scoring from open play. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? It swings and roundabouts.
Hopefully we can break that goalless duck. Hopefully we can get at least 1 on the scoreboard. That would be nice. If we can keep the game tight, take a 1-1 draw, we'll probably accept that, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, we've reached the end of the show, but Keg, I just want to thank you again for coming on. It's always a pleasure having you on. It's very fun previews. But yeah, I just want to thank you for coming on, mate.
Yeah, not a problem, mate. Thank you again for having me on, and wish you luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully, you can push back into that top 4.
And same to you guys. I hope you guys have try to have a good season as possible, and hopefully you guys can get Steve Bruce out the door quicker.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed.
And then you can kick on as a club.
Thank you.
But yeah, listen, guys, we've reached the end of the show. Before I wrap up, I just want to tell you about a couple of things. Like I say, I'll be back tomorrow with the watch along. And then on Tuesday, I'll be over on the Chronicles of Aguna talking to Harry Simew. And then on Thursday, he is coming over here for a chat, all things Arsenal. So look out for those shows. Keep smashing the like button. Keep subscribing. And I'll catch you all tomorrow. Take care, guys.